We are not just fighting young people who are misguided or lost, but rather people who are being instrumentalized. Terrorism has become a political instrument of destabilization and regime change in our countries. And these groups, we know, are supported by powers in the region and by external powers, including Ukraine and others, who have openly claimed this. Otherwise, how can we explain these groups today having modern equipment like drones and so on? Where does this money come from in an area where people can barely find food? So we are facing a political instrument sponsored and supported by states and foreign entities.
To give an example of these sporadic attacks, this week there was a coordinated terrorist attack against a military camp and the Timbuktu airport. Is the situation there under control?
Yes. Yesterday, the government issued a communiqué on the matter. The situation is under control, but we don't want to get into a situation of commenting on every incident, because that also feeds disinformation. People engage in manipulation. Every incident is picked up, rebroadcast, and false images are circulated to discredit our states. But what's important to understand is who is behind it and what the current strategy is. The current strategy is to do everything to show that those who were here, with whom we collaborated, and who are now gone, want to do everything to show that the current state has failed. So they are in that dynamic. We are aware that there will be attacks. We will respond to attacks. We remain on the offensive, and we are determined to maintain and continue this fight. There are other countries in Africa where there are attacks, so I don't think that can be the indicator in question. The indicator is, are we capable? Are we organizing ourselves to sustain this fight? Yes, we are. And we rely on ourselves to win this fight. We rely on our AES partners to work together. We are not at all destabilized by these campaigns of disinformation or incident commentaries. When our soldiers are killed, some commentators are happier than when we kill terrorist groups. So, we understand that there are other stakes. This terrorism, once again I say it, is political. It aims for political objectives. It aims for destabilization. It aims to take control of our countries. And this is not acceptable.
But you talk about the solidarity of the Sahel countries, but you don't benefit from the same support across all borders. I'm thinking of the border with Algeria, for example, where one of your drones was shot down recently. Can you overcome terrorism if you don't benefit from the collaboration of a country like Algeria?
Well, as I said, terrorism is a global phenomenon. Naturally, terrorism exceeds the capacity of any state, however powerful. We need to collaborate with others to win this war. But as they say on the plane, when there are turbulences, when you enter turbulence zones, you must first put on your own mask before helping your neighbor. So we seek to solve the problem at home first, before we can be a partner. But if you speak of regional cooperation, you mentioned Algeria, which is a neighboring country to Mali. First, I must say, before going further, that Mali relies on itself and not on anyone else to solve this problem, even if collaboration is necessary. But what do you want the Malian state to expect from a neighboring country like Algeria, which shot down a Malian drone in operation on Malian territory, targeting violent terrorist groups that were carrying out attacks against Mali? We believe these are unfortunate actions that should not have occurred between neighboring states. We in Algeria should have the same enemies. Today, the Malian state denounces the destruction of this aircraft. And beyond that, Mali wishes that Algeria would respect Mali's sovereignty before considering any collaboration. We want Algeria to cease being a rear base for supporting terrorist groups that destabilize Mali, and for Algeria to stop interfering in Mali's internal affairs. These principles apply to all our neighbors. From the moment these principles are respected and neighboring states work with sincerity and not duplicity, collaboration is possible today. With certain neighboring countries, this collaboration is possible. But for those who maintain such postures, who work with us but are also involved in the destabilization of our country, collaboration is not possible. We must first create this trust. We need responsible attitudes so that we can understand. Do we have the same definition of this enemy? I believe these are perhaps the questions that need to be answered before considering this anger, perhaps on a case-by-case basis. Today we plan to maintain cooperation with Senegal. There have been visits, exchanges between our defense ministers of these countries. With other countries too, with Mauritania also, there are discussions to see how to work to strengthen collaboration together. Guinea too. Therefore, I believe there are prerequisites to be addressed in the case of countries like Algeria, so that this threat, which confronts Mali and threatens all countries in the region, can be effectively countered. So, it will be necessary to create the necessary framework, establish the required trust, including with ECOWAS today. The fight against terrorism with ECOWAS countries, an organization we have left, will only be possible if trust is recreated with a certain number of neighboring countries to be able to work together in the context of the fight against terrorism.
This incident of the destruction of your drone, were there retaliatory measures from either side? Is there a dialogue channel? Has the situation evolved?
There's a prerequisite regarding that. When there was the attack against the drone on Malian territory, what we consider an aggression, Mali waited 72 hours before issuing the communiqué. We requested information from our Algerian neighbor to provide us with proof that the Malian drone had penetrated Algerian airspace, and we did not receive this proof. In the government communiqué, as you noted, it is absolutely clear. We indicated that we lost control of the drone approximately 10 kilometers from the Algerian border, in Malian territory. And the wreckage of the aircraft was found 441 meters from that point, where we lost control, meaning about 9.5 kilometers still from the Algerian border. We expect our Algerian partners to show us evidence, and our services will get in touch to clarify this situation. If we understand what happened, if we have the same interpretation, we can then jointly consider the next steps to take to maintain dialogue between the two countries.
So for now, the discussion point is blocked.
For now, there needs to be a clarification. Our competent services must meet to find out what happened. For now, we know what happened, but we don't have the elements of proof from the Algerian side that must be provided to the competent Malian services. And after analyzing this situation, we will draw the consequences. Whatever happened, as a responsible state, we will be able to jointly consider the next steps.
Now let's address the relations between Mali and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which you've definitively left. You've started negotiations to establish good neighborly relations. Last week you received the president of the ECOWAS Commission, in fact. How are these discussions evolving?
Well, we're entering a phase of calm and realism, because it's clear that the ongoing discussions are by no means aiming for any kind of return. What's being considered now is a dialogue from entity to entity. On one hand, ECOWAS, which gathers 12 member states, and on the other hand, the AES, which gathers 3 member states, to look at the practical modalities of this withdrawal, how it will translate in terms of free movement of people, the headquarters of bodies, the various mechanisms to put in place, so that this can happen in an organized way, and we don't have a disorderly disengagement. So these elements are currently being worked on, so that we reach a kind of pact between the two organizations to agree on this. And we are delighted to have had the opportunity to receive the president of the ECOWAS Commission, who came to Bamako on May 22nd. And we had an exchange with my two other colleagues from Burkina Faso and Niger. The discussions took place in a fraternal atmosphere, and we hope that the coming weeks will allow us to get down to the specifics. In any case, what was decided at the end of these exchanges is that there is a shared will to ensure that the interests of the populations, of West African populations as a whole, can be preserved, and that no one intends to divide the West African populations. And that these elements also take into account the progress of the regional integration process, which didn't just start with the creation of ECOWAS. There have been achievements since independence until today. How can we work to preserve these achievements? And naturally, there are differences on a political level between our countries and certain leaders of the organization. We must continue in the long term to work to recreate trust on these questions. But today, we are in a dynamic of working to resolve these problems so that our populations are not impacted by this situation. Furthermore, the heads of state of the AES, in December of last year, made an important declaration from the College of Heads of State to say that our countries remain fraternal and remain Pan-African in spirit, and wish to maintain all the benefits for West African populations living in our space. And we are working today in this state of mind to always put the interests of the populations at the center of our exchanges.
What does that mean, Minister? That citizens of the AES don't have to worry, even if you've left ECOWAS, that the free movement of people and goods could be continued?
Yes, we can say yes. We can say yes, even if we are waiting to have written arrangements regarding this. And for our part, we have said that we maintain the benefits for ECOWAS citizens who live among us. And on ECOWAS's side too, decisions have been made to say that nothing will be touched until definitive agreements are reached. So today, at this stage, the free movement of persons and goods remains as is, until our countries manage to find definitive arrangements that govern the relations between the AES and ECOWAS. But on both sides, I feel there is a will to be able to maintain these benefits for our populations, and also on the economic and commercial front, because our countries are linked, so that these commercial exchanges and others that exist between our countries, for those who wish it, can be maintained.
Do you have hope of reaching a global agreement with ECOWAS, given that on a bilateral level, you have uneven relations with different countries? Your relations with Senegal are not the same as with Côte d'Ivoire, etc. Relations are more or less disparate.
Well, what I can say is that today we feel that many ECOWAS countries share this concern, indicating that, well, they wish that these benefits for our populations be maintained. There are certain countries, but I believe that number is also reducing. There have been significant changes in many countries within our space. Several countries have progressively changed their position. In any case, they have adopted an attitude that Togo, moreover, has held since the beginning, to maintain dialogue with people, not to adopt postures of superiority, to be able to engage. Today, many countries want to maintain a cooperative, constructive relationship with our countries. And I hope that with these elements, we will be able to work to reach an agreement that precisely preserves this commercial space that we have built since independence.
Are there certain countries that are working against you? It is regularly said that conspiracies are being hatched in other capitals against Mali, AES. These are serious accusations.
Listen, I am the Minister of Foreign Affairs. My role is much more about trying to find solutions. I don't want to name countries on this platform, but I believe it is known to all. the neighboring countries that are involved and that have chosen as a strategy to work towards the destabilization of our countries, to serve as a rear base for foreign powers hostile to the AES countries, to do everything possible to destabilize our countries. But these countries must just understand one thing. The problem we are confronting in our countries does not concern only us. And by playing around, it will affect everyone. And it's a zero-sum game. No one will win. And so, we each have an interest in not putting ourselves in this posture of permanent war, with each supporting subversive groups to try to bring down the other country. No one will drive the other out of this space. We are condemned to live together. And our position in Mali, President Goita's position, is that what unites us is always more important than what might link us to others. So we must always work with this long-term perspective, preserving the interests of our countries. It's not about individual issues. Our countries are eternal. Our peoples are eternal. We, as leaders...
If you're going to talk about fine shit, this is the only fine shit I want to hear you talk about. Ibrahim Traoré. He's a president of the transition of Burkina Faso. The president of the transition of Burkina Faso. I've never heard that title before. President of the transition? I don't know. Does that mean something else? But when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's the president of transforming this country, of improving this country, and of course, Africa. This man is in the process of and is carrying the entire continent of Africa on his back. He's going to the oppressors and the colonizers and saying, we don't want your fake help. We don't want your fake help. We're okay. And this wouldn't be fine shit. As a Jamaican, I am so proud of this man. I'm so happy to see a man like this in my time, in my generation, right now. And honestly, I live in America as well. And I know that Black Americans and Black people in America right now in a resting phase. And it just come to me, I was like, the reason why we don't have any energy for the American fight, for the fight for America, is because it's not our fight. Our fight belongs in Africa. Our fight belongs for Africa. No, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. I'm not that type. But speaking for me, this is what I care about. I care about this most. And I'm from Jamaica. Don't get me wrong. I love Jamaica. I love my culture. I love my people. I'm very proud to be Jamaican. But if I'm going to give any energy and effort for a piece of land, it's going to be the land and the continent of Africa. Because the very Rasta man will say, Jamaica is capture land and Africa is the motherland. Because we cannot be good no matter where we are in this world. We won't get the respect that we want and deserve. We won't be seen as valuable as we should be seen if Africa is not where it should be. You get me I say? And this is the beginning of it. And the way how this man is divinely guided and protected, this man is covered. 18 assassination attempts, and he's been president since 2022. 2-3 years, 18 assassination attempts. Why? Because he's not allowing them to put them hand in his country anymore. He's not allowing them to rape them anymore. Him say, no, we don't need your fake help. Move and go. Worry about your country. I'm worrying about my country. Relax, we got it. We literally have the resources that you keep taking, so we'll be fine. We have it. The resources you use to build your country and make your country powerful, it's ours. So what we need your help for? Why are you here? Why are you here? I'm with it. This man now have free education in his country. Let me tell you, I'm getting ready to go to Africa. I don't know when, I don't know where, but this is what it is. This is what it is. Fine shit. Yeah. Black people, clock in. This is what it is. Clock in. Hey, Ibrahim.